Greg will keep the culture. Just 5 simple words from the late, great Charlie Munger. But on May 1st, 2021, these words, which he just kind of let slip during Berkshire Hathaway's annual meeting, they absolutely sent shockwaves through the entire business world. And with that one little off-the-cuff remark, the 97-year-old Munger accidentally solved what was, probably the biggest mystery in corporate America. Who on earth was going to fill Warren Buffett's impossibly large shoes? So that's exactly what this explainer is all about. We're going to dive in and answer that question. Just who is Greg Abel, the man handpicked to lead one of the world's most iconic companies into a brand new era? All right, first up, let's talk about how this massive, decades-long mystery finally came to an end. I mean, for years, literally decades, it was the one question on everyone's mind at every single Berkshire meeting. Journalists, investors, you name it, they all wanted to know. And every single time, Buffett and Munger gave the same answer. Hey, the board's got a name, but we're not telling you who it is. And then, just like that, the whole thing unraveled. Decades of secrecy, just gone in a weekend. On that Saturday, Munger let it slip. And by Monday, just 2 days later, Buffett himself went on CNBC and confirmed it. Greg Abel was the guy. Okay, so where does Abel fit into the puzzle right now? Well, Buffett is still the one managing that massive investment portfolio. But the day-to-day stuff, that's split. You've got Ajit Jain, who is the other top contender, running the huge insurance side of things. And Greg Abel? Well, he's in charge of basically everything else. We're talking railroads, energy, Seas Canadies, even Dairy Queen, the whole shebang. So that's what he does. But who is he, really? Let's get to know the man behind that very big title. When you talk to people who know him, a pretty clear picture starts to form. They'll tell you he's unpretentious, a total salt-of-the-earth kind of guy. He grew up in Edmonton, Canada, and is a die-hard Edmonton Oilers fan. And while he's an absolute shark when it comes to numbers, he's also known as a natural team player, something he really gets from his love of hockey. And let me tell you, his work ethic started early. This isn't some guy who was born with a silver spoon. We're talking about a kid who was out there distributing advertising flyers, collecting old pop bottles for cash, and spending his high school days filling fire extinguishers. He's been grinding from the get-go. And you can hear that background in his own philosophy. This quote from him about hockey, it says it all. It's not about being the star player. It's about making the team win. That is core to how he thinks and how he manages. So you take that team-first attitude and that incredible work ethic, and you got a pretty amazing career, one that was really forged in the super tough, competitive world of the energy business. So how did he get on Buffett's radar in the first place? Well, he started out as an accountant, then joined an energy company called Cal Energy. There, he started working for a guy named Walter Scott, who just happened to be a childhood friend of Warren Buffett's. Scott saw how brilliant Abel was at making deals, and one day he told his old pal Warren, "You have got to meet this guy." And, well, the rest is history. Now, just to give you a sense of the scale of what we're talking about here, the businesses that Greg Abel is in charge of today, they bring in about $270 billion a year in revenue. To put that in perspective, if that division were its own company, it would easily be in the top 10 of the Fortune 500. It's massive. And what about the Oracle of Omaha himself? What does he think? Well, this is about the biggest stamp of approval you can get. You got to understand, Buffett does not praise people lightly. So when he says someone is a smart guy who will never do a dumb thing, that's pretty much the highest compliment he can possibly give. But look, inheriting the keys to the kingdom doesn't mean it's going to be a cakewalk. Abel is stepping into a truly monumental challenge. For decades, Berkshire was famous for just crushing the market, no contest. But that story's changed a bit lately. If you look at the last 10 years, the company has actually performed just under the S&P 500. Now, for almost any other company, that's a great record. But for Berkshire, it's a sign that those glory days of easily beating the market are getting a lot harder to come by. And when you start to look under the hood, you can see a few problem spots. Geico, which was once a crown jewel, is losing ground to its rival, Progressive. The BNSF Railroad isn't performing as well as its peers, and even Berkshire Hathaway Energy, Abel's old stomping ground, has seen its profits fall. So the bottom line is, the empire has a few cracks that need fixing. And this brings us right to the central dilemma. How do you fix those cracks? The answer might just be in Greg Abel's management style, which is fundamentally different from Buffett's. You see, Buffett is famously hands-off. He buys a great company and lets great managers run it. Abel, on the other hand, is known to be a tough, hands-on operator who gets deep into the details. As one CEO put it, with Abel, if you underperform, you'll get a call. And hey, that's not just my take. Buffett himself admits it. He's said that Greg is probably tougher than he is, and that he's better at, quote, enforcing that kind of thing. And that's not a knock. It's just an acknowledgement that they have very different, very direct styles. So what could that enforcement actually look like? Well, here are a few things he might do. He could start setting some pretty strict profit goals and maybe replace managers who don't hit them. He could restructure the whole sprawling empire. Or he could do something Berkshire has famously never done, pool the buying power of all its companies to get better deals. Any of these would be a huge change from tradition. And that right there is the tightrope he has to walk. How do you bring in this new level of discipline, of performance management, without accidentally destroying the very culture of independence and trust that made Berkshire so great in the first place? That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Which leaves us with this final, massive question. Greg Abel has the skills, he has the work ethic, and he has Warren Buffett's complete trust. But let's be honest, Berkshire Hathaway is a machine unlike any other, built in the exact image of its founder. Can anyone, even the hand-picked successor, truly run it? Only time will tell.